Got Carlos Hathcock, who I think is the greatest sniper of all time. I have more kills, but that doesn't mean I'm better than he is. I was just put in a position where I had more opportunities.
All Marines know about Carlos Hathcock.
Well, every jarhead that's been in the Marine Corps in the last 40 years knows Carlos Hathcock. If you were in during the late 80s, you probably read his book, Marine Sniper, that General Gray asked all young Marines to read. Outstanding representation of a Marine. Let's go.
About Carlos Hathcock because he's a Marine Corps legend. Someone we learn about at MCRD Paris Island or San Diego. His life story reads like a Hollywood movie script. What isn't known are some of the facts of his life beyond his 93 confirmed kills in Vietnam. Carlos Hathcock went...
You got to put it in reference in the context of the time, right? The late 60s. Confirmed kills were figured out differently. It was in a jungle environment, had an 8-power uteral optic. So if you're comparing 1968 values to 2010 values, it may be different. Does it take away from anybody else's confirmed kills number? Of course it doesn't. Am I being a Marine Corps hunk? Maybe. Let's keep going.
Vietnam in 1966. There, he distinguished himself and showed he had the stuff legends are made of. He is officially credited with 93 confirmed kills. Some biographical accounts state that he actually had 400 kills, although this number remains unverified.
Carlos took it a step further and became truly just part of the environment. Every breed.
I think Carlos Hathcock had such a big impact in the Marine Corps at the time because there really wasn't standalone sniper elements after World War II. They'd kind of evaporated. And he really stood them up along with that captain that's in this video and said, hey, we need to go back to training sniper teams, getting a sniper school in Quantico. That's why he was such an important person in the Marine Corps' recent history compared to other Marines you think about, like the Chesty Pullers. That's really where he fits into the Marine Corps, is getting the Corps back to utilizing snipers like they did during World War II.
Every insect, every bird, every smell meant something to him.
In 1966, Hathcock's bullets began wreaking havoc on enemy troops. Over 3 days in the remote Elephant Valley, Hathcock and his spotter, acting alone, decimated an entire North Vietnamese company. Assuming that they were under attack by dozens of U.S. troops, the NVA never counterattacked.
Now, interestingly enough, he received a Silver Star after he was out of the military quite a while. His highest level of award, we'll call it, was a Purple Heart, then a Navy Commendation. So he wasn't this big decorated Marine. If you look at his decorations and ribbons, medals, he was in 20 years, got out, ended up having MS, only made it to E7, right? Probably pissed some people off along the way.
During one treacherous helicopter insertion deep into enemy territory, Hathcock inched his way across a snake-infested meadow before terminating a North Vietnamese general within his own base camp. As tales spread of Hathcock's deadly prowess, an American newspaper article exposed him as the enemy never could.
What happened was one of our public affairs officers gave him media group a story about Carlos. It was published, and then they became aware of who Carlos and myself were and some of the other men.
Well, you got to be really pissed off over this young captain at the time. I believe he retired as a major. That your own people give you up in an article. Now, we wanted the warm and fuzzies for the other troops during Vietnam. Even at this point in the war, it wasn't well received. It hadn't gone totally off the rails until the 70s. But you come to find out that the Vietnamese know who you are, the bad guys, from your own people and your own press. Ouch.
Of the team. It was at that point that Carlos and I both had a bounty put on our head. And a North Vietnamese sniper was sent down to kill Carlos.
The best sniper that they had was sent south to kill him and was out there. Now, this sniper, by this time, had killed some Marines on Hill 55. He'd made his presence known. It was a challenge.
Now, I think I even remember this story from boot camp, right? He shoots the guy through the scope, or the woman, I can't remember. and they're looking at each other like the face-off in the Wild Wild West with pistols. Kind of a hard-to-believe story. I remember the book was a big deal. Every young Marine was supposed to read it. General Gray, the commandant at the time, says it's on the commandant's reading list.
Rising to the threat, Carlos and his spotter was soon in the bush, shadowing their would-be assassin.
And for 2 days, they tracked this guy. Now, by this time, they called him the Snake Eater or the Cobra Sniper.
When a shot pierced his spotter's canteen, Carlos realized that the Cobra was within range. Like Vasily Zaitsev decades before, Hathcock patiently maneuvered, waiting for the slightest mistake by his nemesis.
Now think about this. Let's get into the time frame. You're in a hot environment, sticky, wet. You can't see that far in front of you because of the terrain, trees, jungle. Your spotter just got his canteen hit. You're trying to figure out where the round came from. You heard the crack. You're not exactly sure where it hit because you're trying to get down on the ground. How much anxiety would you have? I know this is Carlos Hathcock now, but he's trying to figure out, okay, need to get some cover and concealment, but where'd the round come from? I can't imagine the level of anxiety trying to figure out where they are in relation to you. Stay calm. Make sure your buddy's not hurt.
Late that afternoon, Carlos's restraint was rewarded.
The sun glinted off his lens of the scope, I guess. I saw the glint. I shot it where the glint was. And it just happened to be the right time. And by looks of things, I was just the quickest on the trigger. Otherwise, they had to kill me.
I don't know that you could repeat that shot twice. I don't know how many yards he said it was. I remember in the book, it was a good distance. Talking about a glint. Any kind of angle is going to go one way or the other. But I remember when the book came out, reading the book, I thought, I don't know about this. And then downstream later, he came to Camp Pendleton, did a book signing, or he got ill. I believe that was 92. He wasn't as much of an icon as, say, Chris Kyle was at the time because things were different. People knew who Carlos Hathcock was, but he wasn't a big media figure.
How do I know he would have killed me? Because I shot right through his scope, right straight through the scope, didn't touch the side.
In 1969,
Wow.
the armored vehicle he was traveling in struck a landmine. He sustained burns over 90% of his body, but that didn't stop him from pulling 7 Marines from the burning wreckage before taking inventory of his own injuries. Hathcock rejected any commendation for his bravery.
Now you figure burns over 90% of your body. Think about that for a second. The technology of how we treat burns is completely different than it was in 1969. I can't imagine now. He stayed in another 10 years, right? So he joined the Marine Corps in 1959, got out in 79. So he stayed in another 10 years. I believe he was a staff sergeant at the time. He became a terminal gunny when he retired. I believe he retired because he was diagnosed with MS at 20.
30 years later, he was awarded the Silver Star. After Vietnam, his efforts were directed at establishing a scout sniper school at Marine Corps Base Quantico, Virginia. In 1975, he was diagnosed with multiple...
Now that's his biggest achievement right there. Handing the keys to the Marine Corps, the scout sniper school. And what did that do? Well, the SEALs didn't have one. They used to use the Marine Corps. They developed their own since. I don't know exactly what the Army had, but I know his school that he developed, in conjunction with other people, was used by federal law enforcement, state. That was a big thing that people sometimes often overlook when they think about Carlos Hathcock, his contribution to the Marine Corps and law enforcement.
Sclerosis. Carlos Hathcock passed away in 1999. His legacy, however, lives on. Many Marines are still talking about him.
In boot camp, I had a drill instructor, range time constantly, reading the stories from One Shot, One Kill about Carlos Hathcock's exploits during the Vietnam War. And as you were saying, how he just set the precedence for when you think of Marine Corps snipers, sniping, you think of Carlos Hathcock.
We all do. We all think of Hathcock. You say the name. You saw in the beginning Chris Kyle mentioned Carlos Hathcock. Because when he went to sniper school, I believe he went to a Navy SEAL sniper school, but they still looked to Carlos Hathcock somewhat being the godfather of creating the programs. He was a good shooter before he went off to Vietnam. Outstanding Marine. I want to know your comments when you first heard about Carlos Hathcock. And who is the best Marine Corps sniper? Chuck Malway, Carlos Hathcock, or does it matter? Thanks for watching.